foreigners also. The sustenance of our connection.
Bulavinaka and Namaste and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Our host, Your Excellency, the High Commissioner of India to Fiji, the Governor of the Reserve Bank of Fiji, various members of the civil service and other invited guests. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me much pleasure to be here. ITEC Day, obviously, as the High Commissioner highlighted, is a significant event in the sense that ITEC has helped many Fijians, 900 we are told, over the past number of 10 years or so to benefit from the technical cooperation that is facilitated through the ITEC facility. As His Excellency highlighted, I mean, we are very grateful for the Indian government, the previous leaders who had the vision to share their knowledge, share the growth, the technology that they developed. A lot of it is homegrown in India post-independence, and to share it with the rest of the world. In the days of the non-aligned movement, of course, the Colombo Plan, where a number of leading former colonial countries like India, Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and a number of the African countries had shared similar alignments in respect of how the developing world needed to come together. I do not want to necessarily go too much into detail about ITEC itself, but essentially to highlight that specifically from a Fijian perspective, why exposure to training and to technology in specific fields is critically important. We are a population of less than, a population of less than 900,000 people, of which 70% of the entire population is below the age of 40. 65% of the Fijian population is below the age of 35. So we have a lot of young people. The ITEC fits in really well with the government's objective of ensuring that every Fijian has access to education, every Fijian has access to some form of training, whether it's vocational training, whether it's what we call specific technological development or specific training in the infrastructure space. So it feeds in really well, Your Excellency, in terms of what government's objective is. And we'd like to thank you for that. From the government, purely from a government civil service perspective, we've seen a number of civil servants, including, of course, the police, the military, the Navy, that have benefited quite specifically in their respective areas of professional skill sets. It has also provided a number of learning experiences that currently aren't available in Fiji. So it feeds in really well with our OMRS system in the civil service. We need to become a lot more service orientated in the civil service, of course. We need to be able to adopt new technology to be able to deliver better services. We have had, for example, during COVID, rolled out about $250 million worth of unemployment benefits. In fact, overall about $432 million worth of benefits, unemployment benefits, all using phones. So people could apply on the phone, people got paid on their phone through money wallets. Just recently with the inflation mitigation, where we're paying $1 a day per child, again, those applications, a lot of them have been made online. So we need to invest in technology. We need to have the level of exposure in technology. And India, of course, is worldwide known for its adoption of technology. It's the leading IT company in the world, country in the world. So we need to have those learnings again within the civil service. Overall, from a private sector perspective, our education system also helps develop people to not only work in the civil service, but also work within the country itself. So even if I'm, for example, a topper scholar, I don't have to work for government. I can work in the private sector as long as I work for a number of years in Fiji to pay back what we have invested in you. We are seeing also a huge shift in what we call professional preferences in the region. So many Aussies and many Kiwis are choosing not to work in different professions now. So they require people from overseas. And we are seeing some of our people go into that space. So we have an attrition rate of young, bright Fijians being offered very lucrative positions in Australia and New Zealand. also in the hospitality sector. So we need to constantly upgrade the skill sets and the training venues for our people. And again, ITEC, those bilateral relationships help quite significantly. I'd like to also take this occasion to highlight what India has done for us on a bilateral basis in Fiji itself. Yesterday, His Excellency was with our Honorable Prime Minister in Tailevu, where they have funded some roadside stalls. It is not actually a small thing to fund roadside stalls. As many people will tell you, only a few years ago, there was no proper roadside stores built. People would get a sheet of tarpaulin or get some timber and just put it up by the side of the road to be able to eke out a living, to sell their produce, whether they grow it themselves or buy it from a middleman, and then sell it by the roadside. Today we are seeing that there's a uniform approach to roadside stalls. With the standard roadside stalls, it makes the people who sell their produce a lot better about themselves, a lot better about the environment. It gives them a sense of dignity. And building dignity and giving people a sense of dignity is very empowering. And it's those small, what may be considered a small thing, is actually it's a very powerful tool of making people feel that they are being brought in from the periphery, from the margins into the center. And that's critically important. And a few years ago, we had it was then the Assistant Minister of Foreign Affairs, Singh. He was a former military man who came to Fiji. And we remember spending a few days with him, where the Indian government then had funded, I think to the tune of about $5 million to the micro assistance that we're giving to micro enterprises, where we gave $1,000 grants. And there are literally thousands of Fijians who actually, because of that $1,000, are today flourishing in their own businesses. Whether it's the lady who's selling handicraft to tourists, whether it's a person who's got 4 pigs and now wants to grow it and have 5 or 7 pigs, and that capital investment where people are growing goats or chickens and what have you, that has actually helped them get into a much bigger space, where we partnered up with the Fiji Development Bank. So these, what we have seen with the Indian government, a lot of the assistance is what we call building capacity. May not be seen as the big ticket item, but in fact for us they're big ticket items, because it actually builds sustainability. So there's a number of other projects. For example, the Indian government provided us with lots of seeds, post-cyclone Winston, and a number of other cyclones. And it brings me to the other point where we are partnering up with the Indian government. Not many people know about it, not just Indian government, but Indian institutions like TERI. TERI is partnering up with the Climate Change Division in the Ministry of Economy, where we are building capacity in terms of helping develop our NDCs, nationally determined contributions, in terms of the development of parametric insurance. Ladies and gentlemen, to put into perspective, when we had the cyclone Winston, it wiped off 1/3 of the value of our GDP within 36 hours. We spent $125 million just helping people rebuild their homes. Then the following year, we had 3 cyclones in one season, Josie, Gita, and Kenny, where again we spent $110 million helping people rebuild their homes. It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable for a government to continue to fork out that type of money on an annual basis. We've had 14 cyclones since 2016. So we need to look at financially driven solutions. So parametric insurance now is on offer, where government has partnered with all the development partners, including the UN, and of course the Indian institutions have also helped us, including the Indian government, to help develop products with the World Bank and various other agencies, so we can provide certainty to our citizens. We can also help grow the private sector. So that kind of synergistic approach and collaboration between the private sector, government, and also NGOs does provide long-term sustainability in any of the projects that we do. So, Your Excellency, thank you very much. We wish to convey from the Fijian people and also the Fijian government the assistance that you have provided to us, through this particular organization, through ITEC and that particular scheme, but also overall the close collaboration. And we look forward to, today, this morning we were at a function where we are growing our outsourcing sector. And there's potential for Indian companies, of course, to come to Fiji. We can learn off them. They can also take advantage of our very attractive tax incentives that we're offering to companies, and also use Fiji as a destination to provide services to larger countries within the region like Australia and New Zealand. So we look forward to deepening our relationship, working together to ensure that we empower not only ordinary Fijians but also our private sector, overall as our country, and of course deepen our close bilateral relationship. Vinaka Vilakalevu, and thank you very much. Vinaka, thanks.
Nisabullah Vinaka, namaste, and a very good evening to all of you. I'm truly delighted and greatly honored to welcome you all once again to the 58th ITEC Day Reception hosted by the High Commission of India in Suva at the India House, a historic monument. As my colleague was mentioning a few moments back, ITEC is the flagship development partnership program, perhaps one of the largest capacity building programs in the world. It is something which deeply reflects the approach of Government of India to partnership with fellow developing countries. To give you a brief background about the origin of this program, I'm sure all of you would know in 1947, exactly 75 years back, we got our independence from the colonial rule. So at that time, we decided whatever we have, the capability, the competency that we develop, we will use that competency, capability for the help, for the welfare of our fellow human beings, of fellow friendly foreign countries. And also, we were deeply influenced by our own freedom struggle, the kind of hardship we faced initially from the colonial rule and later from underdevelopment. We thought that would be the experience of many other countries also coming out of the colonial rule or facing this problem of underdevelopment. So this went into the thinking of the founding fathers of India, who said, like, whatever limited resource we have, we will share it with the rest of the world. This also, I think, is a reflection of our own ancient philosophy, where we look at the world as one family. You know, as we say, Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam in Sanskrit, which essentially means the world is one family. That is what we think of, and that is what we practice. We do that in terms of the ITEC, and also we have done that in the last 2.5 years when the world was faced with the greatest pandemic it has ever seen in our lifetime. Coming back to the ITEC course, as I said, this is the flagship capacity building program of the Government of India. We give more than 15,000 training slots completely free of cost to more than 160 countries in the world every year. I'm so happy to note that our dear friend Fiji, with which we share a very special and enduring bond, has also benefited significantly from this training course. And in the last 10 years alone, we have had close to 900 Fijian officials traveling to India for various short-term training courses, which have helped them enormously in their contribution to the national building efforts of this beautiful country. Also, this mission is concurrently accredited to 3 more Pacific Island countries, Kiribati, Tonga, and Tuvalu. From those countries also, I think we had, like in the last 10 years, about 150 of the officials going and getting very valuable skill set from India. We are happy to do that, and we will be looking forward to further strengthening this partnership in the days to come. Beyond the ITEC, our development partnership with Fiji has grown manifold in the last 52 years, where we have become masters of our own destiny. Our relationship covers the entire spectrum of human endeavor, starting from agriculture, primary sector, MSMEs, micro, small, medium enterprises, sugarcane sector, capacity building, education, health, information technology, defense, and everything in between. This has only grown with a higher momentum in the last 10-15 years. Even despite the disturbance caused due to the pandemic in the last 2.5 years, we note with satisfaction that our relationship has taken steady strides forward. Now that the travel-related restrictions and other disturbances caused due to the pandemic is gone away from us. We look forward to going ahead with renewed momentum. And on this occasion, from my side, from the Government of India's side, I would like to reaffirm our very strong commitment to further building, further partnering, further working closely with our friends in Fiji to take forward our relationship, our natural partnership for progress to the next level. And I look forward to the same wholesome assistance, cooperation, and eagerness from our friends here in the Fiji and also in the rest of the Pacific Island countries to take it forward for the mutual benefit of people of both our countries.